Welcome into That SEC Recap. I'm your host, Shane Wilhoit. Let's go around the league. Week 3 was a doozy. A lot of teams winning, a lot of teams losing. So let's highlight what we got. Let's jump down to South Florida, where Alabama Crimson Tide fought for their life 17-3. 4 quarterbacks and 107 yards passing later. We got a total of 4 quarterbacks and 107 yards passing. We may have a problem. What was the best part of this game? We asked Nick Saban after, and he said, well, me and Miss Terry were looking for some retirement communities down in this area, so we thought it'd be best we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Speaking of stone, let's go to Oxford, where we got Lane Kiffin getting his first win against Georgia Tech, 48-23. Jackson Dart had a total of 387 yards and 3 TDs. Hell of a showing. Lane Kiffin was asked later about his starting quarterback, and he said, whoa, pump the brakes. We haven't named one of those yet. We'll do that week 4. Speaking of picks, let's go down to Auburn, where they were able to come away with a victory against Samford, 45-13. 4 interceptions this game, a little ugly at times, but all that matters is they're 3-0. First time since 2019, we asked Hugh Freeze after the game, got any plans? Pulled out a little sheet and says, on the advice of counsel, I invoke the 5th Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question. Mizzou answered some questions, knocking out number 15 Kansas State. Mizzou 30-27. Thicker kicker coming through with a 61-yard game winner after a delayed game almost cost us. But beside the fact, everyone was happy. Everybody was celebrating except the coach. Because he's a man. He's 40. Speaking of 40... UNLV beat Vandy 37-40. You wanted a good game? Well, it was in Fayetteville, where BYU beat Arkansas 38-31. 125 yards and penalties in that one, half on the offensive line in the last drive. I don't know if Shane's lock was to blame or the offensive line, but one of them fat bastards needs to respond to the Hog Nation and apologize. Speaking of offensive, let's go down to Starkville, where Mississippi State fell a little short against the LSU Tigers, 41-14. Apparently, Zach Arnett loves defense so much, even he gets upset when they score points. Whoa, we went to our field reporter, the Flying Hawaiian, down in Athens, where Georgia Bulldogs beat South Carolina 24-14. It was a hell of a half for South Carolina in the first. In the second, Georgia took the victory. Speaking of half, chili dogs were half off. And we asked Beamer after the game, did he have a few? Didn't want to comment. But you know who did have a comment? Kirby Smart. Kirby came up to us. He says, that's Beamer ball. 0 points and all those punts. Come on now. Florida versus Tennessee. That was a heartbreaker for some. Tennessee 16, Florida Gators 29. ETN had 172 yards. Steve Spurrier was spotted on the sideline when we asked him about this rivalry. He stated, Tennessee's like that roadkill you find on the side of the highway. Sure, it twitches every now and then, but it's still dead. Heupel also spoke with the media and said, this is a long game approach. Sure, we lost, but at least we don't have to worry about Deion. Sorry, Shane. Can't talk about Shane's without talking cupcakes. Kentucky knocked off their 3rd one this season, beating Akron 3-35. Stoops was happy about this one, knowing the juggernaut Vanderbilt Commodores are right around the corner. We expect Ray Davis to have a field day. Speaking of field days, let's go down to College Station, where the Aggies pulled off a big one, 47-3. We asked Jimbo after the game why he had so many papers in his hands. He says, that's what winning looks like. And if we had this team 8 more times, we'd be going to college football playoffs. Well, that's it for SEC Recap. I'll see you guys next week.